So if you like to create content with your smartphone, then you're definitely going to want to check out this gimbal right here. This gimbal is the brand new Hohem iSteady M7, and this gimbal is packed with features that check all the boxes for smartphone video creators, and a few of these features really make this gimbal stand out from the rest. First of all, this gimbal has advanced magnetic AI tracking, and the AI tracker works up to 23 feet away from whatever object or human you're trying to track. And of course, the AI tracking module is this right up here at the top. Now, we would probably want it facing the other way because our phone camera's facing that way. So all you have to do is just lift it because it is magnetic, and you can easily change the direction right there. And I'm going to show you how that tracking works. So I'm going to grab the remote here. And as you can see here on my remote, I have a live preview of what my camera shows. So it's currently paired to my camera. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to frame what I want it to track. Then I'm going to give it the signal to start tracking. So as you can see here, I can move around, try to hide. It still keeps up. I can go this way. I can go further back and it's still gonna try to track me. I can go high, I can jump, and it works very well. So when I want it to stop tracking, I just hold up my hand, stop symbol, and it stops tracking. So I'm going to demonstrate how to do the select and frame AI function on here. So the way you get to AI tracking is from the main menu here. You're just going to swipe right once, and that's going to show our display. So you've got a couple options. You can double click on your object, and it's going to put the green box around it. Does a really good job even when I get far away. Very impressive. And then the other method for using the AI tracking is you can draw a box around your object. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to draw the box, and then we're going to tap the button right here on the side of the remote once, and it's going to lock that on. So as you can see here, it locks it on that way. And sometimes I use the double click, other times I use the framing. It really just depends on how well I get the framing I want with that double click initially. I don't always get the framing I want, so I like to make sure. And of course, the remote does not have to be mounted on here when you do that framing, which is some of the big benefit of this remote. And even better, the object and human tracking works with any app that you're filming videos with on your phone. So you're not forced to use the Hohem app, you're not forced to use the default iPhone app, you can use any app. I personally use the Blackmagic Cam app. I love that app because there's no cost and there's a bunch of advanced settings in there. So if you like to do manual filming like I do, you can plug in all of your parameters and get the very best footage possible. Now, a brand new feature to the Hohem iSteady M7 is a detachable remote control, and the remote control has touchscreen, and the display is 1.4 inches on that touchscreen. This is a huge improvement over the Hohem iSteady M6, which didn't have a remote at all, and I love this feature. I can be up to 30 feet away from the gimbal and camera, and I can use the remote. I can adjust some basic settings, I can pan it, and I can start or stop record with the remote. So it makes it really great if you're doing solo smartphone filming. Another great feature about the M7 is it has a built-in extension rod, and this rod can extend pretty far. This is great for any of those selfie situations where you want your phone further away from you, or for those situations where you need a little more reach to get those creative angles. It's excellent for that. The RGB and CCT light that's built onto the gimbal is also a great feature. If you're filming in low light and you need a little bit extra light, or if you want to adjust the color temperature of the lighting, you can do that, and you can do it all from the remote, which is also a great feature. Another feature about this gimbal that had me super excited is the payload is now 500 grams. So what this means is you can easily have even some of the biggest smartphones on there, and you can add additional accessories like lights, wireless mics, ND filters, anamorphic filters. I particularly like to use ND filters, anamorphic, and some of those retro mist filters. I love using those in my iPhone 16 Pro. But with a lot of gimbals, the payload is limited to about 300 grams or less, and that makes it impossible to use. But with the Hohem iSteady M7, you've got plenty of room to work with there. You can add all kinds of accessories. When it comes to balancing your smartphone on this gimbal, it's actually quite easy. So all you have to do to mount your phone on here, you've got instructions right here, tells you to have the camera facing that way. And this, of course, is the front camera right there. So we want to put it on just like this. And then what we want to do after we have it on is we want to lift up on this tab right here. We want to make sure it's balanced so it doesn't really tilt either way here. So if it tilts that way, we want to move it back this way toward the middle. And then we're going to lock that in place and we're going to power it on right down here. And once it powers on, it's going to do the final stabilization right there. Now, when it comes to gimbal range and how far it can rotate, the gimbal does have infinite 360-degree panning. So you have lots and lots of range to work with there. You don't have to worry about your gimbal hitting a stop point where you can't go any further. So this is particularly great for AI tracking. That means your gimbal can go all the way around and not ever lose track of the object or human that you're tracking. And of course, since this is a gimbal, stabilization matters. It matters a lot. And this gimbal has really good superior 3-axis stabilization. I did lots of running and fast-moving shots with this gimbal, and you cannot even tell. The Hohem iSteady M7 is now using iSteady 9.0 stabilization. So this stabilization algorithm has gone through 9 iterations now, and it keeps getting better and better. So if you already own the iSteady M6 and you're wondering if you should upgrade to the M7, here are some of the key differences that you should consider in determining if you should upgrade. So the first big one is that the M7 does have that detachable remote that the M6 does not. So if you want that detachable touchscreen remote, then the M7 is definitely a great upgrade. Personally, I love the remote. I use it a lot, and it just makes it a lot easier to use the gimbal. And I can see that live recording preview, which is also great. The second feature to consider is the person and object tracking working in any app. On the M6, person tracking worked with any app, but object tracking did not. So having the ability to track any object in any app now is definitely a big upgrade from the M6, if that feature is important to you. Another feature that's new to the M7 that the M6 did not have is the 193mm extension pole. So if you want that feature for selfies or for a better reach, the M7 will have that, whereas the M6 did not. And finally, the tracking distance with the M7 for the AI tracking is about 23 feet away. But with the M6, that tracking distance was approximately 16 feet. So you get an extra 7 feet or so for tracking. So if having that tracking distance is important to you, then the M7 is definitely an upgrade. And as far as gesture recognition, when you want to signal the AI tracking to start or stop, or use other gestures, that distance is 16 feet with the M7, whereas it was only about 12 feet with the M6. So you can be back a little bit further from the camera when signaling it with gestures. And of course, the payload in the M7 is 500 grams. On the M6, it was 400 grams. So you get an extra 100 grams to work with there. If you have additional accessories, that could definitely be worth it. And finally, the M7 does have axis locks on each gimbal arm, whereas the M6 did not have those locks. Those locks are a really nice feature, especially if you're setting your gimbal down to do solo filming. You don't want all of the axis to be moving on you. You want to lock the ones so you only have the ones moving that you need moving. Because if you like to create with your smartphone, this gimbal has pretty much every feature you could want, and it doesn't limit your creativity. This gimbal allows you to have that creative freedom without limitations. So if you're a solo smartphone creator, I definitely encourage you to check out the Hohem iSteady M7. I've linked to this gimbal in the description below.